Hi, today we're going to talk about how to turn an apple body, which is like this, into a pear body. Now, nowadays most people like the pear body because it has a little bit of wider hips, and with all the interest in the Brazilian butt lift and a more A-shaped type of body, people want to find out how to get their body to look more like this than like this. Now, the reason people's bodies look different is because of where their fat deposits in the body. And believe it or not, everybody has a tendency when they're born to capture fat in different areas. So the people that have the apple type of configuration tend to deposit fat mostly in the abdomen area and in the breast, sometimes in the arms too. And I've seen some women that also develop these little fat pockets here in the inner thighs. Now, those type of people, no matter what you do, are going to acquire more fat in there. So the only way you can change from this to this is to take those same cells that live here and put them down in here. Now, there's another factor that counts in this too, which we cannot change surgically, and that is the ratio of the rib cage to the hips. So if you have a rib cage that's about as wide as your hips are, we can change things somewhat favorably, but we cannot change the shape of your ribs, and we can't like make your bigger hips. Now, what we can do is make the upper part as narrow as we can, and then take the lower part and add fat to the outer hips to give you what's called a better waist to hip ratio. And the waist to hip ratio is a big thing, and it's what makes the female figure what it is, sort of narrower at the top and wider at the bottom. So this is actually the same patient, except that this is preoperatively and this is postoperatively. And in this patient, her fat deposition was in the top, as you can see here. She had very little fat in the hips and very little fat in this lower outer pole of the butt. You can see the hollowness there. And through 2 procedures, actually, she ended up having, we were successful in transferring all her fat deposition from up here to down in the buttock area and the thigh areas. We give her a lot more prominence in the lateral trochanter. So this is more of a favorable waist to hip ratio, in that the waist is a lot narrower than the hip. So, and you can see here the patient before surgery, and she also had a rectus diastasis from having given birth to a couple of children. So we fixed up the muscle, and you can see on some of my other videos I talk about that too, fixing the rectus muscle. And then in here, you can see how much more narrow her waist is, and her buttock actually comes out in a curve like this, whereas before it used to be, kind of straight, almost no line at all. And you can see here from the side how much more prominence of the butt we have, and how her waist is a lot narrower. And here you can see how the stomach used to come out, and of course that was more muscle work up in here in sewing that up, how we got her to be like this. So when you look at the patient preoperatively, she is more of an apple figure, where she has, separation of the rectus muscles with the contents of the belly actually like coming out. She had that little extra fat deposition in there in the inner thighs, and all this fat in here. And what this fat in here was doing was literally hiding her waist, okay? And then by doing the surgery, we're able to reverse all those proportions and get her again to have a narrow waist with a buttock prominence, whereas before she had no buttock. And you see the changes here, which are pretty dramatic. And that is, the waist to hip ratio. You were born with a certain waist to hip ratio, but we can change that to a certain degree. Well, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this, and keep in touch. Let us know down there in the comments what you would like to know more about. Thank you very much.